Okay, 9. Okay,
The middle group.
This isn't our district that sets these rates, but we have a couple of options.
Yes.
This is Keeney, our workers' comp carrier. Now, when I talked to Mr. Jones, I told him, I said, we're reasonable. You know, we can listen to, if we're not doing something correctly, we can listen to what would be correct. So I called a few districts. Some districts said they don't charge workers' comp to their grants. Some districts said we take number of employees, as he said, and divide the total premium and get one amount. Okay, so whatever's left, so you charge your grants that amount, and whatever's left, the district is paying. And if you turn to the second page, it's $183,000 we pay for workers' comp.
Okay, that's district-wide.
Right. So as I see it, and I said, you know, I'm kind of getting in on the back end of this. There's 3 options. You can not charge your grants, and I had to think about this today. Our grants is about a quarter of our budget, 25% of our budget. So if you take 25% of this 180, that's how much we're going to recover from our grants to help shore up our budget. Correctly so. Now, if you can not charge grants any, some districts don't. You could charge them per employee. Some districts do that.
Which I think is...
It's
fair.
reasonable.
I think it's fair.
If it's
I think it's fair.
$200, then why are you charging $2,000?
It's reasonable.
Yeah.
There was an accounting procedure that I don't think is wrong, that I can explain it to you, that was done several years ago. If you fit into this category of 4, that means you're 8 times more than that 0.5. Okay. That, I believe, is the accounting procedure that was done to recoup workers' comp from the grants.
See, I could see, you know, like somebody like Sonny Vaughn, okay, who's out, and he's out, you know, bus drivers, maintenance workers, especially guys that work at the bus garage because they don't have a tire changer. I could see a higher rate for them, but for our Family Resource Center directors who sit in the office, and you all do, I mean, I'm not saying you only sit in the office, I mean, you lift and you do things. Yeah, I would say your role is probably a little bit harder to teachers, and that you may, you know, have some things. I could see that, but
You're absolutely right. When you say harder, there's more physical.
Well,
but you're right. It's more, and that's why the risk is higher.
yeah, but tenfold. I mean, why would you charge?
Okay, how much do you
Why
pay
would
for
why
your
would
bus
you
driver?
pay $200 per teacher, and then $2,000 for each resource director?
The reason is because of it really is, it's going to come up the board, but to answer your question, the reason why you do that is because of the risk factor for the population of that employee and what they do. That's why it's higher.
Okay, is it higher than bus drivers?
Yes, if you look at that,
How did you get that, Tammy? How do you determine that?
How can
I
it
don't.
be?
This is Keeney's. This is not
This is
me.
our insurance.
This was
This
our
is the
insurance
people that we pay the
company.
premium
Well,
to.
the other resource coordinators around surrounding counties
Okay, point
have the
five.
same job I
It's
do,
teachers.
and they
His
don't pay
teachers.
us.
Okay, what are resources?
And we do the same job.
So theirs is a little bit lower, right?
No, 0.5.
And not only
0.5
are
is
y'all taking
teachers.
it out of my grant, but you're taking it out of
Okay.
my co-severance money as well.
Okay, who's 0.9?
That's your doctor.
That's your driver. So,
This is Keeney now. This is not the board.
all
This
right,
is not
so
me. This
so
is
drivers,
our insurance.
drivers. What do we pay for drivers? Is that including the $250 some odd dollars, or is that included in what they said? You know, the dividing what we pay by employee. So are we paying on drivers about $200 some odd dollars a year?
I'm sure we're paying more than that.
Are we paying?
This is, I mean, when I say we're charging, that's what the board is paying on their workers' comp. Okay, for instance, if we just took one of these groups to a workers' comp provider and say we only want these people covered, they're going to charge us at a higher rate.
Do you think that they're going to charge you $2,000 for I can't.
All I can tell you is what Kimi has given us.
$5,345 a year just on New Orleans for workers' comp.
How much?
I don't think-
Huh?
I don't think so.
No,
look.
do that.
You got it coming from Coast Severance, and you got it coming from her discount. Each one of the schools is right there. That's the total that they pay for comp for the youth service center.
Okay,
Okay,
but
we're-
Board
okay,
has
we're
an
charging-
option. They
we're-
have 3 options.
Okay, we're charging from coal severance tax money too.
Exactly.
It's,
I mean,
double that.
wait a minute, why are we using coal severance tax money that comes through the fiscal court to pay workers' comp, and then we're paying workers' comp out of the grant that we get for cabinet for health and family? That is,
Don't add up.
that has just a fishy
I
smell all over.
I can only tell you what has been done and why it was done,
Okay.
as far as the different ways to figure workers' comp.
Gary, it's not, I know it sounds fishy, but you remember general fund and Fund 1 and Fund 2.
I know, yeah, I
Fund
know.
2s are grants.
Okay.
And what we try to do is protect every district.
Okay,
And
but
as
why-
as some other districts may not do this, but I can assure you that in the financial condition that this district was in, it was a necessary, or it is a necessary measure to take. It's not that we have to continue this. That's not what's being put on the table here.
No.
What I'm advocating being put on the table here is that this is a good business model. And if we're going to be efficient in what we're doing, we're not taking or keeping from kids. In fact, the budgeting process from the Friskies, as I understand, I'll let Mr. Cornett and Tammy speak more to this, but it has been largely autonomous. And if you recall, if the board would, last month, the salary schedules was the first time, I believe, that, or I was informed, that the salary schedules were set for the Friskies by the board. And that's what this board is responsible for. It doesn't make any difference where the money comes from. It doesn't matter if it's a car wash at the high school, or if it's a grant through Frisky, or if it's general fund that comes from SEEP dollars. The board determines and approves every dime that's spent in this district. In one
Okay,
fashion or another.
here's what I can understand. Here's what I'm saying. We are, Senator Jones and Hubie got money for coal severance tax through the court, correct?
Specifically for the Friskies
Yeah,
because of the
specifically for these.
underpayments
Now, I'm sure that
and all
Ray, I'm sure that, and it was to help subsidize these things.
That's correct.
It's because we
It's
was
still
in
fund too.
bad,
It's
okay,
not
in bad
general
shape.
fund.
But now, I mean, I think they'd be very, very PO'd to find out that part of the money that they have approved for us to get, part of it's being used to pay workers' comp, as well as workers' comp coming out of the grant. I mean, I think they would be, I think Hubie and them would be, because, to get these things to help kids. And you've got 18,000 some odd, what, we get about
I haven't seen that.
okay, we get about, what is it, $30,000 a year?
Yes, $60,000.
Huh?
$60,000 for each.
Okay, we get $60,000 a year from coal severance tax money, in addition to what we get for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Here's the thing I don't like. We can do, and it might be a good business model, it might be a good thing. Okay, we can rate, kind of, and I call it like rating this fund to help subsidize everything else. But when you cut somebody's salary, like Nora's, or anybody else's salary, then it's wrong. I mean, I don't think these teachers in here would like, or bus drivers, or anything like, well, we can't pay you. I mean, we won't have to cut your salary this year because we've got to take from your grant, or take from your funding source to pay workers' comp. And you're going to pay 10 times the rate. We're going to pay, from your fund, 10 times the rate that we're charging everybody else.
It's not fair.
It ain't, it's
Point
not.
blank, it's not fair.
It's not fair. And quite honestly, I would have known about this had Nora not come to me and say, my salary was cut. My salary was cut, $5,000.
Well, let's ask,
Okay.
Mr. Cornett, can you address the salary, or why the salary was cut? I think you may have the corporate knowledge there.
The money from induction of custody, the money from the state, like everything else, has dwindled
Oh,
over
yeah.
the years, the amount. Years ago, there was quite a bit of money there. They paid salary plus some other activities and expenses in the units. And I've only been over this for 1 year, but the last time co-severance and the last time the contract was signed, the money from the state would not pay all the salaries. So co-severance money was used to
Supplement it.
yes, supplement and that was approved by Christy Brown, who oversees the co-severance money. So since some of that money, and this, again, this is what I was told, and it didn't come from Tammy, but since that co-severance money was being used to pay salary, then they would take that part of the workers' comp out of that money that was being used to pay salary. 2 years ago, when the contract was signed, and this is the second year of the contract with the state with Doug, and I don't know how this happened again, I wasn't over that then, but the part of the Norris Center got $10,000 for a 2-year period. To supplement her salary for, not this year, but last year, it took more than half of that to supplement her salary. So when I became aware of that, with the coordinator's agreement and with Doug's agreement, we had a meeting and we froze the co-severance money because we saw that when we did our budget for this year, salaries were going to be short. So we kind of used the co-severance money to help supplement, trying to keep the salaries where they were.
Okay.
Which they did.
Yes, which we did. And I told Nora, I think we only have 2 people that really lost salaries. Is that correct?
Yes.
2?
Well, the problems we had was, Jean's hours, which is Inez,
Right.
were cut, which we did properly, because it was submitted to me and the advisory council approval, and so we did a center operation change.
So
she was willing to do that, so we reduced her hours per day, even though she continued to work 8 hours a day.
Right.
Okay? And most people don't like that. But anyway, that continued.
Right.
We also lost 2 support people during this transition. That the centers could not supplement the salaries, and nothing was coming from the district. So those people, that was before you.
Yeah, but that was.
So I'm just saying, these are the things that have happened as a result. In addition to Nora's situation, which all of a sudden I get a call from Nora saying, my salary's been cut. And I said, no, they can't do that. I said, I'm sure there's a mistake. And then when we started pursuing it, because that absolutely cannot happen, they are district employees, but we're working under a contract for that biennium. They cannot cut salaries. It is a grant program that has been approved. The only way you can do it is through a process. So this would have been, had this been done correctly, we would have known at that time what happened. Well, she has been operating on a non-compliant contract, which I have let go because I was expecting and optimistic the district was going to get it done correctly. And that's why it's taken all this time to see what's going on, because we had it should have been supported by the coal severance money, which also is not audited correctly, and they've been double dipping on that by taking that out of two different line items.
We're finished here, if you don't care.
Okay.
So when we submitted the budget for this year, 2013-14, I had Doug come in and I said, this is the problem. And like he said, he agreed to it. I had the coordinators come in one at a time. We did their budgets. Nora knew at the time that there was going to be a cut. But I told her, and this came from my boss, that if we had money, that we would put that money to supplement, try to get her salary back to where it was. Now, that wasn't Mr. Meadows, and I said my boss.
Yeah, I know.
And so when
Was she the only person?
when Doug pursued this,
Was she the only person cut?
there was 3 people, 2 people now, and one of them was minimal.
Okay.
Minimal.
All right.
And Doug pursued this with Tammy. Doug started asking me, and I said, okay, here's what Tammy, and I said, listen, I'm the middle guy. So I put these 2 together, and they came up with an agreement. Tammy agreed to, I think after talking to Mr. Meadows, I talked to Mr. Meadows, Doug talked to Mr. Meadows, Tammy talked to Mr. Meadows, and Tammy lowered the rate for this year's workers' comp. And I met with Doug, I met with the center coordinators, we all got together, and then last week, I think, they revised this year's budget to include the difference in, Tammy, what was it, 272, to whatever we had originally said we were going to hold out for workers' comp. So that part of this year has been corrected, and Mr. Meadows agreed to that. And that's kind of where we are right now. Then Doug brought these other issues up, and I said, again, I'm being the middle guy here, so we had kind of talked about having a meeting with the four of us to kind of try to work this out, and then this happened tonight.
Yeah. Well, what would you say the state auditor would say to this? I mean, if you looked at it and they looked at $2,000.
If you would you read those amounts that I gave you on that paper?
This.
No, yeah.
That's correct.
Well,
Last
okay,
year alone,
okay.
it's $18,000.
For mine is middle school only, 2006. This is the money
For
that's
workers'
been,
comp. For workers' comp.
just for you.
Yes.
Okay, 2006, 1,676, 2007, 2,062, 2008, 2,346, 2009, 2,642, 010, 19,6, 011, 25,13, 012, 26,18, and 013, 1735.
Now the numbers on
I
the
mean,
bottom.
that's, and from coal, okay, so this has been, and the coal severance tax, is that just for coal severance tax or what?
That was, the bottom amount was out of co-severance money, on top of what you're going.
On top of this, then, this has been,
Yes.
on top of this, almost $6,000 in coal severance tax money over 4 years.
Yes.
For you only.
Yes.
There gotta be something wrong.
Well, I haven't seen that data, Gary.
Okay.
I mean, I'd really like to have an opportunity to go over that. If there's something wrong,
Yeah.
I'm sure you will fix. We'll
I know.
fix it. But what I want to caution the board and get to Tammy.
Okay.
I want to caution the board and everyone else in the audience. I mean, we need to be careful about throwing around illegal or something or non-compliance. I mean, that's a position that you may take.
No, it is non-compliant.
Well,
I didn't say anything about illegal,
What I'm
but we are
saying-
non-compliant to the existing
Hold on a
contract.
second.
Okay.
When you say non-compliance, I mean, that's the position that you're taking. But give us the opportunity to look at this, because what the discussions that I'm having from what we can levy with a grant-funded program is legitimate and a legitimate cost.
Share, the $200, yes, but not $2,000.
Well, again, that's a position we're taking. And Nora and every other person in the district, I can't help what went on in the past.
Yeah.
We certainly can't go back to 2006 and start dipping the general fund and, start.
Oh, I understand.
I'm not asking that.
Where we're going, let me finish here, Mr. Jones. Going forward, I can assure you that we're going to do it fairly, equitably, and with transparency. So, other than that, I haven't seen that data. I'm just going based on my discussions and the data that I'm looking at from the program director here in central office and our finance officer. If there's something, needs to be fixed or rectified immediately, then it'll be done. Correct?
Well, do y'all have a problem with the state auditor looking at it and making it,
That's the board's decision.
I mean,
I don't think it's necessary, but that's the board's decision.
well, the whole thing about it is, I mean, boards get blamed for doing a whole lot of things that we don't,
I think if we can get it worked out with Mr. Jones
yeah, I
and
think
the
if
Christie
we,
Department, I
I think,
think that should satisfy
yeah, I think if we can do
everyone's
that,
palate.
I think we can do that, because
I
everything.
think,
Go ahead,
I want
Rob.
to say, I think we need to get it resolved. We need to do what's right. So Mr. Jones been on the job for 16 years. He should know, I would hope. And Mr. Meadows is coming in, it's like I said, in the past, but let's make it right.
Let's make it right
I
now.
don't care who or what program, as a board member, all things have got to be done right.
Right away, yeah.
Some things are legal, and some things are not ethical.
Yeah.
I think we've ran into that, not just on some other matters that's went on.
But I want to say, we always say it always comes down to the child. I have seen Nora in action. My kids have been in the school with Nora. Both of my children. There is no one that loves their children more than Nora.
I'll say that, yeah.
I have watched her dig on her head for something that a kid needs, and for her to be done like this is a crime shame. That's my opinion.
Well, I don't care who, nor or who.
Or anyone. Well,
Everybody, like I said,
But if it's supposed to be for the kids, she's a great asset for our kids.
I have a question for Mr. Cornett. So did you say that the workers' comp is now down to 200 and something?
What was it?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's roughly down to what we're paying for all the employees.
And that's what, the board has that option, of not charging grants, any workers' comp, or take the entire employee number of employees for the premium and charge that amount. And that's what Doug and I had come to a conclusion of.
Okay.
When I checked with other districts, some don't charge anything, and some charge around $200.
Okay, but do any of them charge what we charge? $2,000?
That's why as I said, this was new to me also, and I told him I'll be, we are reasonable, and let's check with what other districts do. He made his calls, or he told me what he thought other districts were charging, and then I made my independent calls, and I talked to Mr. Miller.
Okay, does anybody know anywhere what we pay for an employee? I mean, did you find that in any other district? I mean, did they pay $2,000?
I do not, but I only checked with 5 or 6. I didn't
Okay.
go across the state. And as I said, when I did look at it to try to justify why it had been done before, I can see the justification, but I also see the reasonableness of only charging the amount divided by the employees.
Okay, Mr. Jones. Yeah, how many districts do you represent?
Thank you. I have 70.
You have 70? Wow, that's nearly half.
I also monitor across the whole state.
Okay. Have you seen anything?
Never.
Have you seen anything near what?
Never. Nothing over $200.
Nothing over $200. Why are we paying? Why are we? Okay.
That's what we're asking you
That's
guys.
what- okay.
As I said, I'm kind of getting in on the back end of it, but I can also see why it was done, but I can also see why maybe we shouldn't.
Why was it done, Tammy? Why do you think it should have been?
Because when you look at the workers' comp rates,
Yeah, but if
I don't
that's
want
the
to-
case, other districts would have done the same thing. They would have looked at it,
I
yeah.
do understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And as I said, I saw the reasonableness of the request. I really did. But I guess I can just see all three. I can see, some districts who have a lot of money supporting their grants and not charging any. We're not in that shape right now.
Okay.
I can see the reasonableness of taking your employees divided by the premium and charging one set amount across the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what she did.
Mathematically, I can see why that was done.
Why was it?
Whether it was,
Okay, I mean, explain to me mathematically, because I can't understand $2,000 or something per
okay,
employee.
if you do one classification, 0.5.
Yeah, I know that.
And I'm not saying that
Okay,
I
what's
agree,
the-
I'm
okay.
just saying I can understand.
Okay, but
If
what's
you-
going to be the highest classification?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, what's going to be that?
9.
9. Okay, how much are you going to pay roughly for that?
Well, you take there's a lot of.
Okay, yeah, well,
Yeah,
okay,
you
I
can't
understand.
just throw
Okay, you were
numbers
thinking
out
9 would be a,
But whatever your 0.5 would be, your other classifications would, the next would be 4 times that. The next would be 9 times that. So, I'm sorry, 18.
Yeah.
8 times because of 0.5.
Gary, again, the reason why it was done was based on those numbers, and you didn't have the money in general fund.
I can't, I don't buy it as based on them numbers.
No, I'm saying that's why it was done. Listen,
Well, I
you didn't
mean-
have any money
Well, I'm
in general
saying,
fund.
yeah, I'm
You
saying,
didn't have money in general fund.
I know. Well, I'm saying that you weren't here.
Right, what I'm saying is
And
that
we
the
weren't here.
district did not have money in general fund, so to recoup that, to balance that, that's where it was based on those numbers.
We had money in general funds to do
So that's
other
where
kind of
you
really
took
stupid
out from the
things.
resource center.
I didn't take anything.
Well, no, you didn't.
And I want, and Gary, please let the
I know.
audience know, our discussions, I've told, we've agreed, this is probably not the most
Not the
ethical
best
approach,
thing,
okay?
not the best thing to bring
But,
it
and I
out
have
in public.
promised this board that going forward,
I know.
and our
Well-
budget committee is Thursday, that we've got a lot of work to do,
I know
folks.
that.
We've got a lot of work. I'm not gonna apologize for my recommendations to this board, to save this district financially. That's
No.
my job, that's
I know.
part of it.
I know that.
So,
Well,
and whether
no,
the board takes it or not, that's up to you.
Well, we talked today, and you all wanted to meet, later on, or you wanted to meet with him later on. And, of course, Roger and I had already had the discussion with him on Friday and asked that he just, hey, come up and tell us and let us know what's going on. And, of course, today was a board meeting. When I talked to you, he was already en route to Ashland and ready to be here. Then I got the call from Brian Likens. Brian Likens, of course, with the state auditor's office. has already talked to, Mr. Jones. Brian Likens wanted to know, hey, do you all intend to address this? And I said, yeah, I guess we do.
Yeah, I can call Brian tomorrow.
I mean,
know that we're on it.
I want to get this thing, and the whole reason for this is, and stuff, the state auditor, with all the stuff that they found with boards, is the boards are not engaged, they don't know what's going on, they bury their head in the sand and stuff like that. I wanted to know, like Nora, you owe me money.
And when
Well,
was the
how
first
can I owe
time
you
you
money
asked
unless
this?
I have somebody tell me?
When was the first time you asked this to be settled?
It's been a long time.
July?
July.
It should have been settled.
Actually, it should have been.
That's been plenty of time.
Yeah, but I mean,
And that's on my watch. And as I discuss, if that's going to be an open discussion here, an open session, that was settled at that point, and we did reverse it. Okay, we're at the point now where the budget is going to be approved. And my position is this: we've reversed it, but I don't advocate that money, and to this point, I haven't approved it to go back into salaries. I want it to go to kids, right? Isn't that what's been said here? We want it to go to kids. I'm not going to approve a budget that's backed out to go to salaries. And the main reason is because right now we're in a surplus of frisky directors.
okay.
So for this, just again, my recommendation to the board is not to increase salaries on surplus
Well, we're not going to increase, I don't want to increase salaries. I want to go with what salaries were approved by the advisory council and all that signed off. That's what I want.
Okay.
That's the only thing, I don't want the board, I want, if your advisory council looks at your budget and says, here's what you're going to get paid, this is everything's going to be, the site base, and the school looks at it, they look at it, says it's all right, and it's signed off by the superintendent, that's what it should be.
That's it.
Nobody should have, the district shouldn't then interfere with that unless they go through the proper channels, the cabinet. I mean, the cabinet's the one that's giving you the money. They're the ones that's setting everything up. If you do any kind of changes to that, then you get in touch with your Family Resource Center directors and say, hey, we need to look at this. They in turn then go to their advisory councils. The advisory council looks at it, then they in turn contact, I'm assuming, Mr. Jones. Then they decide what they're going to do. Not that somebody just decides last year, I'm going to cut Nora Ray's salary $5,000, and that's what was done. That's what was done. I mean, that's what that's.
No, it was not.
Huh?
Am I allowed to speak?
Yeah.
Was it approved?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
I thought it was approved.
No, it wasn't. No, it absolutely was not. There was no paperwork done on that, period. Nora received the notification on her second check that her salary had been cut. And I said, they can't do that. And she said, but they did. And I said, well, there must be an issue.
Nora, did you get a notification of reduction when?
I don't. It's my, yeah, it is my salary.
Yeah, you can
I don't
discuss
think
it
it's
open.
I mean, did you get a letter of reduction? That's all I'm asking.
No,
So no one notified you of the reduction?
no. This is what I turn in a budget, that's right there, to my council.
When did you turn it in?
I turn it in, actually, we turn it in March. This was my, you can pass this down, don't mind at all. This is my pay in July, in June, this is my pay now.
Hey, what is it? Well, is this is this like a week by week? Okay, yeah.
That's 2 week period.
Okay, so this is pay period for May to June.
Is this with the hours reduction, Nora?
Yes.
So